Dude, this is
This is popcorn.
Popcorn 9. We have 9 pieces of popcorn today.
That's incredible.
It's like one of those small bags of popcorn that's like just a little tiny little snack. And terrible, by the way. But not this podcast. This podcast, number 9, is going to be great. So nothing like popcorn at all.
Nothing like the small bags of popcorn. Our podcast is like the glorious
Popcorn. Popcorn.
Salt.
Stop talking when I'm trying to talk.
I'm trying to finish my own sentence.
Edit. What was your sentence?
I don't know.
Okay, good. Let's move on.
Does your brain work better when it's under a schedule or a routine, or when it's organized? Does it just work better, you think? Is that how brain works, is being organized?
Is this general, or are you trying to figure out Trevor's brain?
Your brain?
Me? I think sometimes yes and sometimes no. I think it helps me for a little bit, for like a few days or a few weeks, and then it stresses me out because I have to keep up with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes yes and sometimes no. And sometimes I have to like move on or change it up.
Cool.
Is that one of your questions?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
I was just wondering, because with the new year and with thinking about life and goals, having a plan in store or being more organized just in daily life has helped my brain, just being able to concentrate on things I'm doing, and the daily flow is a lot smoother. And I realize that because it's been so discombobulated, my brain, and it's because I've been so disorganized in my life. And with the new year, it's a time to make goals and set plans and reevaluate and get back on track, basically. And not that my life was off track, but it's just recently got busy, I feel like, with the holidays. And so it's been good. I think this podcast is mainly just about recapping and thinking back on this last year, you know?
Yes.
That's the answer.
Yes is the answer. I would agree with that. I think, like we were talking about earlier with a schedule and how I could do a schedule for like a little bit and then it would overall be not helpful for me, and then I would have to change things up, reevaluate, or it gets too stressful and I get lazy. So you asked me about goals. Are you talking about goals for this upcoming year? And for me personally, I only did a 6-month goal instead of a year-long goal because I don't want to fill up a whole year of a schedule or like these goals or like daily habits that I'm trying to do, because I don't know what my year is going to be like after this summer, after we move. So anyways, that is kind of my ideology. I want to take control of my schedule in the 6 months instead of the year. So
basically just having shorter-termed mindset is what's helpful for you. You get more overwhelmed with like a long-term perspective.
Yes, and that's why when you ask what am I doing like next May 5th, and I'm like, I don't know, dude. How am I supposed to know that? And he's like, you don't know your schedule? I'm like, dude, I create my own schedule within the hour of the hour. Anyways, so Peirce is a lot more of a scheduler and a thinking of the future person than I am. Which is like what I was saying, is that I've been so discombobulated lately because I haven't been on top of my scheduling and planning. So I feel like I've been a little more chaotic. I guess what I was trying to say is that that's a good thing about the end of the year, is it's just a accepted and acceptable time to reevaluate your life. It's just that's what it is. It's the new year. That's the time that you reflect on the past year and your future. And going along with that and thinking about things, today we kind of prepared questions for one another. We don't know what they are, and we're going to go back and forth, ask some questions. I don't know what what exactly they have to do with. I guess they all have to do with 2021. Like it's that's what I was going to say.
The past year, yeah.
Things we learned, things that we wanted to get out of each other. I'm going to go first.
Go, please hit me.
So I wrote the first question of mine for Peirce. Who was the most influential artist this year for you?
And we're talking musician.
Honestly, I just put artist because it could be anything, I guess. Filmmaker, artist.
I think as an individual, the person who impacted me the most this year was definitely Mac Miller, for sure. Okay. And music. So He was an artist. If you don't know who he is, he's a writer and a song producer.
Then don't listen to this podcast anymore because you're kicked
get
out.
out of here.
You're kicked out.
He, in his personal life, is just a very happy-going dude, it seems like, and was always enjoying life. I feel like everyone who described him, because he's dead, he passed away if you don't know that about him, he overdosed. And so when people talk about him, they always talk about his like almost childlike behavior of just being kind and happy and jolly and like, yeah, and I really like that about him. And his music is either like fun and gets you kind of amped to either work out or to party, or it's very thought-provoking and very deep and sometimes dark, and I like all that stuff. And so I've had a lot of those emotions and moments in my life this year, and with him being a similar age, he helped out in a lot of ways. And I love music, and so I was just always listening to him, and he is my biggest impact, my most influential artist of the year.
Nice. That was a good answer. I was kind of expecting Mac Miller, but then I wasn't sure if it was going to be like Wes Anderson or if you were going to throw some other people in there, because
I know
there's a lot of other people.
Right, and I always thought about that because I think I have a similar question.
Give it to me.
So I was thinking about it myself, but yeah, as you asked it, I really couldn't think of anyone, and he was definitely the biggest for sure. He was the biggest. I mean, there's no question, honestly, he was. I listened to like 14,000 minutes just of him. I don't even remember.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. So mine is a similar idea. Mine is, was there a song, album, film, show that you discovered this year that had a major impact on your personal life? So it's not necessarily a person, it's more of a show, song, album, movie, something along those lines.
Anything?
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like made this year, but just something that you saw for the first time or that really impacted you this year.
I was trying to think of a movie, TV show or something. I couldn't. But the thing that I kept on thinking of was the album Keep Going by Mike Posner. You smile because you know.
We listened to it at the same time for the first time together.
So the way that this story goes is Peirce sends me a song, and we do this a lot. We send each other songs that we like. That was like, wow, dude, that was awesome. You got to listen to this. And so Peirce sent me it, and I clicked on the album, and I started listening to the album, and I was like, the intro says that he is hiking across the whole United States of America. And while he's walking across America, he is making an album. And so it's just really cool, like talking about his trials and leaving society and all of these things. So then I was like, dude, this sounds like a cool album. Do you want to listen to it together? And so we went to Hammock, and Peirce sat on his chair the whole time. Super lame.
Yeah. Time, it just escapes you.
Yeah. So I had my headphones on. He had his headphones on, and then we just said like 1, 2, 3, play, and then we listened to the album at the same time, but like was writing in our journals or listening to it. And when something awesome was going on, like a beat drop, we would like look at each other and be like, "Oh my gosh, that was cool." Anyways, super cool album, and it's just a really cool story because I think he experienced a lot of things that I had been going through, like at that time. And trying to figure out life and trying to figure out like his place in society, I guess, overall, because he wanted to leave it and just experience life for what it is instead of what society perceives it as. Yeah,
it's a great album. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
Definitely check it out.
So yeah, Keep Going, Mike Posner, 2019, super good album. Highly recommend it. Big one for me.
That's awesome. I could definitely see that. I was for an album for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to go? I guess it's your turn, huh?
Yes, my turn.
Yeah.
Back off.
All right. I'll chill out.
So you've learned, and we have learned a lot this year. But and this is a big question. So you could do a favorite or a top 3. But what is the favorite lesson or thing you have learned this year?
I think my favorite thing I've learned this year, 2021, is what you can receive from the outdoors, from nature. I remember people talking about, because in Arizona, Sedona and Moab are both red rock places, and I remember people talking about the same thing in Sedona as they have in Moab, of like the energy that's there for some reason, like with the red rock. And I always kind of thought that's some hippy dippy stuff, I didn't really, I wasn't against it, I wasn't for it. So I don't necessarily mean it in like a hippy dippy way, but I think that that's the biggest takeaway that I've come from, is just that when you're out and you have just yourself and your thoughts or other people and the earth that you live on, and you're just experiencing the nature around you. And again, thinking about your own life, there's just a lot of healing that comes from it, whether it's personally or in your relationship with people. Just I feel like I've just become a better person, and nature has taught me a lot more than I expected it to. And so that was a big teacher. What was the question? What was the exact the biggest thing I learned?
Yeah, or like the biggest lesson.
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson is that no matter how crazy your life is, that going outside can really take your mind off of all the things that aren't as important in that moment and can really help you focus on what is important in your life.
Amen. Wow. Yeah, that's a big thing that I learned too. Because working inside all day and being cooped up in here and seeing no daylight for, all day. A lot of people do that, A lot of people have the same thing. But for me, it's not around people. It's like with technology. And anyways, it's just nice stepping out and getting fresh air and realizing that life isn't all online and there's another real world out there. So yeah, even just being in the sunlight, there's so much happiness and warmth.
Literally. Whatever
winter
that vitamin is.
Vitamin C.
Yeah, vitamin D. It's vitamin D. It's got to be.
Damn it. Vitamin C. Vitamin C is sun.
Isn't that orange juice?
I don't know. Orange, like the sun.
I don't know what the facts are.
Hey Siri, what vitamin do you get from the sun?
Here's an answer from healthline.com. Vitamin D is made in the skin when it's exposed to sunlight.
Ugh.
I can't believe I was even questioning myself there, but
I can't believe I got that wrong. I feel so lame.
You get vitamins from the sun, so there we go. We were both right. How about that? Okay, I have a question.
Give it to me.
Okay, what is your proudest moment of 2021?
That is a great question. I think there's a few. I think one of those was when I left Mountain Ops. I left my job and to do freelance work. I feel like it was just a freeing feeling. Quickly to go south, but it was a freeing feeling that day.
As some decisions do.
Yes, you realize most decisions are bad. Another moment was walking out of the bank after creating the Sonder Sites bank account, and that whole setup, just the whole setup of Sonder Sites, just felt good to.
It felt like something. It felt like a big boy step.
Definitely a big boy step.
I'm so proud. Yeah, it was a proud. That was for sure. That was a proud moment.
And then I felt very proud after a lot of projects. So when I was coming home from like filming a music video or coming back from South Africa on that trip, coming back from any of the hunts that I filmed, just like returning home and was like, heck yeah, man, I love my job. There was one time in Oregon filming for Cameron Haynes, and we were hiking up the mountain, my coworker and I, and we were getting drenched. It was cold, windy, and rainy, and it was
great combination.
Great combination, and we were waiting on him, and so it was just this whole like miscommunication in the rain, kind of terrible situation. But then I was like, I could be sitting at a desk, and I could just be doing whatever job, but this is actually fun. Like I enjoy just being in nature, being in the rain and doing it for a living, I would say, okay, that's where it is. That's the proudest moment of just acquiring a skill that has turned into a job to put me into nature and enjoy what I do.
So you're just proud with the spot that you are at in life right now, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm just, you
did work hard for all of it. I think it was.
And I don't give myself enough credit. I really don't, because, thanks, dude. Obviously, there's better videographers, filmmakers out there than me, but from where I've come and where I've gone and all those things, and mainly it's been just myself. Honestly, because I haven't had a lot of mentors, so it's been a lot of learning on my own. I definitely know that I haven't progressed as much or as quickly because of that. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking. Question answered, period.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
You should be proud.
Okay, let's get on to you. What was your favorite trip this year?
My favorite trip.
Again, tough one, and you can choose.
Here's what I'll say.
2 or 3.
The trips were all so different. The 4th of July trip because I love the 4th of July. Idaho was awesome. We had a super fun group of people and it was really big. So there's like basically always somebody new you could talk to. It felt like a youth trip almost, except for without like
a little retreat in Idaho with all your crazy friends,
Mm-hmm.
people almost dying, and
It was just wild. It was just a wild, fun America trip of just crazy chaos. Fun. That was a good time. I also loved the St. George trip, the one that we tried to take Johan for his mission trip to Zion, the one that Jack, my cousin, joined us. I loved that one because it was filled with great conversation the whole time. It was just funny because problems just kept kind of happening, but it still was just such a great trip.
And Sonder Sights came from that trip.
And Sonder Sights that's when it started. That's what the first conversation about it really is. Yeah, that was also an awesome trip.
It's so fun that like you're telling me all these stories, but also like whoever's listening to the podcast, but they also know the story because they've been on a few episodes.
Exactly. So I don't have to sit here and tell you the whole story.
So go back and listen to it if you haven't, I guess.
Yeah. So those two are probably my like top two. And if I had to put a third up there with the, fill the podium rack, and then I would say Powell. Actually, I don't know why I was taking so long. Powell for sure. That was a great trip.
Just you and I?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah, the one we went down for mainly because I was running a half marathon. I was supposed to run with my sister. So that was really fun, just that race in and of itself. And then being able to bounce from different spots. Basically, whenever we found a spot, we were so enthralled. When we got bored of it, we'd say, well, let's go to the next spot. And it was like a 30-minute drive, and we're in this whole new beautiful area. So that one was really fun. It was just like so many beautiful things. We got to be in some warm weather and on Lake Powell for a minute. I got to run a race. It was really fun. That felt like a really fun and productive trip. That was also for Sonder Sights. I was like a big... Right. Those are my top three. What about you? Give me yours.
Okay. I was honestly like, I haven't answered my own questions, but I really want to answer this one. So I'm glad you asked me. My top three were probably Hawaii was number one, I think, just because it was so fun, crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Just meeting new people, like that was very open. Like there was 3 of us that were on the trip, but everybody that we saw, we talked to, and not everybody, but we met a good amount of people that we had never met before who ended up being friends, and we've hung out with 2 different groups from Hawaii since.
That's true.
And so I feel like Hawaii has just connected a lot of different things.
It really did shape the year too. Yes. It really, really did.
A lot of my website and portfolio comes from that Hawaii trip because I wanted it to be a travel portfolio. I've never been to Hawaii. The last tropical spot I had been to was Guatemala. Hawaii was also in March, and so I was so stoked to get out of the snow. Anyways, it was
we had
top.
A Jeep Gladiator.
It was top for sure.
Yeah, we had poke all the time. It was a good trip. You're right.
Amen. Yeah, sleeping in the Jeep Gladiator and just going around and making our own trip, like whenever we wanted. If we wanted to drive to North Shore and sleep there, we would. It
basically felt like a road trip just on Hawaii. We flew to this island and we're just kind of driving around. It was awesome.
It was top tier, top shelf.
Other two, give them to me.
Second was probably... Mine was different than yours, though, sometimes. Like South Africa.
That's fine.
Okay, South Africa.
It's your year.
Okay, well, you weren't there, and so I wasn't sure if it was ours. Anyways, South Africa with my old boss, filming a hunt, but like a documentary and a humanitarian effort trip. And it was 14 days, and I'd never been to South Africa before, or Africa, continent in general.
Not many people have, I don't think, that I know.
So there's just so many different animals every single day that we saw that it wasn't like deer hunting or elk hunting where you see like a handful a day. It was like you would look a direction, there was some different animal that I've never seen before in my life. So it was crazy. It was cool. But I'm really struggling with number 3. Oh my goodness. I can't believe okay, so number 3, Lake Palisades in Idaho. The backpacking trip.
Yep, that was definitely one that was...
Loved that trip. Because it was towards the end of the year. It was like our last backpacking trip. It was just filled with a ton of good people, fun times, and yeah, backpacking for the first and last time of the year. Yeah. So, yes. Okay. Give me another question. I want something new. I want something spicy.
Yeah. They were all great. It's fun to think about them together,
yes.
Yeah. I guess because we're talking about traveling still, I'll keep it. This is my last one about traveling. Okay. Is there anywhere you wish you traveled to this year that you didn't get to? or that you wish you would have traveled to less because you went to the same place a couple
Oh.
times?
Okay, so it's a twofer.
Yes. You haven't.
I wouldn't say too much because it was still a good time. But Southern Utah, we went. I would have liked to have sacrificed 2 trips to Southern Utah and backpacked in the Uintas.
Just any
I'm just
any
saying.
of it.
I'm just saying. General Southern Utah. I feel like we went to a lot this summer, and that's what I'm
Mhm.
saying. Like they were all good, but I wish I at least took 1 or 2 of those weekends and went to the Uintas to backpack because I don't know which one. If I had to pick a location though, it would be Goblin Valley.
Figured. That's kind of the same page that I was on of.
Yes.
It's just
So, but I would have liked to backpack because I relearned my love for backpacking the last weekend of the summer, basically.
And I will say that I feel like this summer was definitely a lot, like you said, Southern Utah, which is a lot more rocks. It was definitely more rock
Yes.
themed than it was
That's a great way to
trees.
put it. I would love to have been in more pine trees in the mountains.
Because basically every time we were in trees, it was Idaho or like Wyoming. It was never
Right.
really Utah.
Okay.
Hit me with your best shot,
This is kind of a fun one.
please.
What was your favorite holiday this year and why?
I feel like I was on call for most of the holidays this year. It's how it felt. At least
Fair.
it's probably just because it was the last few holidays of the year I've been on call for work. So none of them.
Okay.
But
fair point.
my favorite one, it's hard, but I had a blast planning your birthday. Holidays with gifts are fun because of like the surprise aspect for me, I think. Doing and getting something and preparing something for somebody you care about that enjoys it. You know they're going to enjoy it when they see it and then being there when they receive it. So
Yeah.
that surprise birthday trip was a really fun experience. That was a fun holiday.
Okay. Trevor's birthday is always a holiday in my books.
Yeah, go celebrate Trevor's birthday.
Yeah, May 13th.
We'll go with that one. That was just fun. I really had a fun time.
I can
on that
go
holiday.
with that. Okay, another question that I have is what did you not accomplish this year that you wish you had? Maybe some goals you set that you didn't accomplish or something that you thought you would have had by now,
I wish I was more focused on my physical goals of working out and creating that as a habit. I was looking back at pictures. It seemed like there's a lot more just even in the gym at your old work at Mountain Ops, and there's a lot more of that culture just involved in our lives. Like we would go out and have a good time on the weekends or go on trips and stuff, but then we would be very dedicated to meal prepping and working out. And then as the year got on, it got so busy during the summer. And then we created Saunders sites and now the holidays. And we've talked about this before when we were back in the gym and such. But I feel like that's one. And seeing your performance of the same pattern of getting out of shape and then getting back in shape, I was like, shoot, dude, I'm sitting here like a chump. Same old weight as I always have been, basically, So I think that's one is just more of actually dedicating myself to gain the weight that I always have dreamed of.
Well, go get it.
Well, it's in the world that's spoken, so.
It is manifested. I agree with that, and I think we've talked about this, but that's who we want to be better physically by the time we leave Utah. And so that's definitely, at least on my brain, a lot is focusing on the physical side to be a person that I want to be.
Yeah. It's
Nice.
funny, I have that same question, but I have these other two that I'm more interested in hearing.
Okay, well, you only have one, so.
What experience from this year do you think your future kids can learn from the most?
Kablammers, Jiminy Christmas. Are you serious?
Serious.
All right, that's deep. Give me a second to think about that.
Yeah,
Can
go
you
for it.
repeat the question? Jeez.
What experience from this year do you think your future kids can learn most from?
I'm just going to start blabbering and hopefully something beneficial comes out of my mouth to the ear holes of the world, I guess. Something beneficial that I've learned is just the idea of moderation and trying everything. So I want to teach my kids to be more mindful, like adventurous. Open-minded for sure.
experimental.
So just trying anything, experiencing new things. And just because something is like a norm in the life around you doesn't mean that it needs to be your norm. because no matter who was born into that situation or whoever is in that situation usually comes out a certain way. And so like I just want them to know that they can still be themselves and still be in our family, you know?
Right on. Like they can go experiment and find what they like, and it's no big deal.
Right. Like if they don't even want to travel, then they don't have to, and that's okay. And I want to try to remember to not give them too much shit and, you know, just like encourage them to be themselves and have fun in their own way, but also try new things.
Mm-hmm. Like don't get,
Open-minded.
yeah.
Yeah. Just
That's
open.
awesome. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Great father over here. Future father.
I'm going to
father.
try my darndest. So,
All right. The final question
yeah, Peirce has the final question
for
the
both of us is using one word to wrap up 2021.
Oh, boy.
What would it be?
One word?
One.
Just a single word.
Singular word.
Do you have yours yet?
No,
Oh, boy.
not at all. I'm trying to think. So
Okay.
shut up. Just kidding.
Jeez. Okay. My word would be happiness.
Wow.
Yeah. In a lot of different senses of the word. So traveling made me happy. Being with good people and good friends and going out every weekend to new camping spots made me happy. And I've realized that is what makes me happy, is just traveling and adventuring and being with good people. And I realized that when I wasn't happy, that happiness is important and making sure that you're making yourself happy. This whole year, I was just trying to find happiness, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Happiness.
That's the word that came to mind.
That's awesome. I would say my one word for 2021 is, the only one that's coming to my mind right now is experimental. That's what's coming to
Okay.
my head.
Yeah.
And it's a similar idea of just, I feel like on a search for happiness, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds crazy. That sounds fun. I've heard about that. Let's try that. Let's do that. Let's start a business. Let's start a podcast. Let's do this.
Try new things all year.
Yeah, I feel like, and then listening to music, I was always trying to listen to music and movies, and I feel like it was a very just taking in year. There's a better word than experimental, but it's that idea. That's the idea.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. It was a very much a year to just try new things, and I think that's why my word ended up being happiness, because it was experimenting and trying new things to find
Right.
happiness.
I feel like you when I asked you the question, you were like, what is one word that could wrap up this year? And it was happiness. And when I was thinking of it, it was like, what's one word to describe what happened this year? And ours combined, I think, is kind of the during, experimenting, and the after is happiness.
So yeah, 2021, good year. We learned a lot. It was fun doing questions.
That was fun. It was even fun thinking of them.
Yeah, honestly, it's like a journal moment,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, question filled podcast. We got to bring that back.
Questionnaire.
Questions with Peirce and Trev.
So bad.
Okay. Anyways, Peirce is gonna go poop now, so we will see you
You enjoy the year.
on the next one. 80 and signing off.
Adios.
Wow. Okay. What a disaster.